In this video, we take this handful of parts and hopefully turn it into a home modified badass engine. So in the last video, we completely disassembled our bone stock CY 23cc engine. At the end of the video, I discovered this engine wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So I put up a poll. If you guys wanted me to take this bone stock 23cc, port it myself, put it back together as is, and progressively add bolt-ons to it, or if you guys just wanted me to say screw it and completely rebuild this engine anyways with my ported 29cc. While we were waiting for the voting to happen, I took the liberty and I started modifying some parts myself. Let's take a look. So the first thing we did was we bored out this velocity stack. Before, the hole was too small for this opening, so we bored it ourselves. Just took a step drill, drilled it to the correct size, and then polished it out. Not too bad if I say so myself. While we're waiting for the votes to keep piling in, not that there's too many, I was just having a look at this. Something doesn't look quite right about this clutch bell carrier. This possibly might have something to do with our bog that we had last year. Let's just take this gear off and have a look. That's not even tight, that's good. Well, that looks pretty nasty. That's our bearing shield. Whoa. Our middle race there is disappeared. That is so weird. It looks like this bearing seized up and it melted the plastic. This bearing doesn't seem to be sitting in there straight either. I popped the... Oh. I can't even pull that apart. I think I'm just gonna leave this set up as is. I'll get a brand new clutch bell carrier, probably like a Turtle Racing or something. And since we're using Turtle Racing snapper clutch, we won't be using this clutch bell either. So, yeah, all I need here is our gear. All right, let's get our crankcase halves cleaned up. I'm going to remove the crankcase gasket, followed by the crank seals and the crank bearings. Here's carb spacer number 2. We ported this one as well. Let's bolt it on the motor and see how nice it fits. You can see just how much we opened it up by the amount of gaskets showing there. Hopefully we did good. We are now ready for our stuffed crank, and here it is. Looks like they have the needle bearing greased. That is so stiff. For those of you who are questioning what a stuffed crank is, let me explain. It's literally what the name says. They take the crank and they stuff it. So basically, most cases, the crank is opened up here just for lightning purposes. So after you do that, the crank is lighter for better counterbalance, but The only problem is you're losing crankcase volume. So what they do is they stuff the crank with this, it's almost like a plastic material. So the crank is still lightened at the top for good counterbalance, but now you're getting better crankcase volume with the stuffed crank, hence more performance. I always like to go ahead and add just a little bit of grease to my gaskets, just because if I take this engine apart again, the gaskets won't be baked on and it'll be easier to remove. We're now going to install crankcase bolts and torque them down to 80 inch-pounds. For you that were curious, that was not rod Loctite I was putting on. That is just 2-stroke engine oil, AMSOIL Dominator to be exact. I just don't agree with putting steel screws into aluminum drive. I like to put a little bit of oil on them. I'm just going to take a razor blade and cut those sticking up gaskets flush to the case. We're now ready to put the piston on. I've had the wrist pin and the wrist pin bearing sitting here in a little cap full of oil for a few hours just to get them all nice and full of oil. Well, that's gonna go there. Piston's on. Now it's time to put the cylinder on. I'm gonna be using this copper base gasket, just because it's supposed to be prone to less blowouts and it's supposed to be reusable. We'll see about that. But yeah, this is what we'll be using today. For those of you who are questioning the piston size difference, now you know. Like so. Now for the last piece of the puzzle. A brand new pull start. She should be a ripper. This engine stock, I believe, is rated for 2 horsepower. This ESP modified top end is supposed to bump it up to 4 horsepower. A lot more compression than before, that's for sure. Not in this video, but all that needs to be done now is our air filter cleaned and installed, and all of our outerwear to be installed. And our pipe. She's gonna be a ripper, guys. I can feel it.